Hey there, young fellas.
How do you do, fellow kids?
What?
In today's video, I want to go a bit deeper
It's so fucking deep.
into my worries regarding Classic World and what I think they should not change about Classic Maple. Because yes, even though I fight with purists that they don't want to change anything and whatnot, most of us don't want to change the core things either. We want to change some things that are broken or require change, but we want to mainly keep the same experience that we had before from Classic. Now, the thing is that Nexon will implement Classic Plus into the Classic experience, which is great, by the way. That's something that is good and is healthy for the game. It's not healthy to just release the old content and call it a day. So that's a good thing. However, I am a bit fearful they go in the wrong direction and start copying formulas from modern MapleStory, which are anti-fun and anti-classic vibes. And the problem with this is, I don't think they know some of these things that are part of modern MapleStory are actually wrong. I think they think that they're fine and they are like, oh, we could implement the same idea into Classic, which would not be fine because modern Maple is adapted to all of the changes that have happened. So I hope that the direction of Classic Plus goes into a different one, and that is a big fear that I have, because being lazy and just like copy pasting things would not be good for the Classic experience. So I have some worries that I want to discuss with you regarding that. So we're going to talk about continent design, what's a good continent design and a bad one. I also want to talk about what's too much quality of life change and what could ruin certain Classic experiences, in my opinion. And I also want to talk about something that has to do with Classic Plus, kind of, which is like make changes within the environment through quests. That's something that some other MMOs do, and it's basically something that MapleStory could benefit from. There are certain quests and certain things that would be quite good, actually, and it would give more meaning to certain quests. So I want to go over those things today and see if you guys agree to some of those. And remember to subscribe, because
Your little
Subscription.
belongs to me.
So let's get started. So the first thing I want to talk about is continent design and map design, because Nexon has already confirmed that Classic Plus is going to be a thing for MapleStory Classic World. So because of this means that they will create new areas, or new areas are going to be redesigned in some way to make them more modern in some way, or just like actually fix certain things that the old game had, which is fine. Now, this worries me a ton, because if we look at modern MapleStory right now, the map design and the formulas that they follow when it comes to the game are not as good, because are more linear and less, let's say, inviting when it comes to exploration. Whereas like Classic MapleStory has a lot of maps and areas, continents and whatnot that do invite you to explore. And the formula is less linear and more inviting to go around the map and check hidden streets and all of that. So when it comes to the good example of map design and continent design, I want to take Victoria Island as the prime example of what Nexon should copy and should do when it comes to Classic. And the problem with this is, I don't even know they know, Nexon that is, that Victoria Island is so good of an island, of an idea, and that goes so well with MapleStory Classic. And let me explain what I mean. I've explained this in other videos, but I want to go a little bit deeper in what I mean. So Victoria Island technically is an area that you can see people around that care about leveling up in that area from level 10 technically. Like you could be level lower, like 8 or something, but let's say from level 10 till level like 80, maybe 85. And what I mean by this is like literally you could see people at level 80 still leveling up there, not because there is nothing else, but because there are good areas and good mobs to kill at that level range. So that formula does not exist in any other continent. A lot of, well, technically does in some other continents, but what I mean is that in other continents, like after some point, because after some point they started relying on a more linear kind of formula that would just take you, let's say, from the main town of a continent or area all the way to a boss in a straight line, basically, of leveling up. And yes, even though that area, let's say, has like a 50 level range, like you can level up from 100 to 150, for example, it's still the same linear concept that is just to grind and not to explore in any way. There are no towns in the middle or anything like that, no hidden streets that matter. And this is the problem, I think, when it comes to creating continents that do not follow the Victoria Island formula. So you've heard me said the term Victoria Island formula many times, and you may be like, what does this guy mean about that? I don't understand. Well, I will just explain to you what I mean by that with a graphic example that will clearly show why Victoria Island is so powerful when it comes to map design. So let's take Genesis as an example. So if you go to Genesis, you have different portals around Genesis that would take you to different areas around the town. Now, if you go all the way to the left of Genesis, you would find this iconic training spot for low-level people, Genesis Hunting Ground 1, which has a diverse range of low-level mobs, and people level there from what? From level 10 till level 15 or something. Now, if you go back into Genesis, and instead of going all the way to the left, you go to a tree that is right underneath the taxi, you would find a hidden street that would take you to a place called an empty house. This place is not that unique, it's fine, it has orange mushrooms, which is basically low-level mobs. But if you keep going, you will get to the pig park, which now would get you with iron hog mobs, which are level, what, 35 or 42-ish level. So now, even Genesis can grant like low-level mobs, but also it can grant high-level mobs, technically, like level 42. So you have a big range very close to Genesis right there. And if you keep going, you would go to someone else's house, which is also where Mushmom is, which is is a boss. Yes, it's a mini boss, level 60 mini boss. And there you have also Iron Hogs, which is not the best training spot, but people could train around there while they wait for Mushmom. So this is a prime example of even people that are level 42, level 45-ish, can still do stuff around Genesis that are not clear, like it's a hidden street that would take you there. And it's a nice diverse range of levels, because even as you being level 10 or level 15, you can see people walking around town actually doing something, not like just standing there. Now let's go back to Genesis. If you go to Genesis and you want to go to the dungeon, you can get to Genesis dungeon entrance, right? Which would take you obviously to the dungeon entrance, which is a town that has also a big range of mobs around it. Now, but if instead of going to the dungeon entrance, you fall into a pit where there is a golem, and you go to that through that hidden street, eventually it would take you to the entrance of the golem's temple, which is a level 55 plus area. Perfect, an amazing area to level up, right? So from there, like that, only that town and around it, it took you to from a low-level mob area to high-level mob area, technically, if you consider level 55 plus a high-level mob area. But in a way, it is in Classic, because the leveling up takes time. So just with that example, you have a big range that is not linear, that is not like level 10, level 11, level 12, level 15, it's just like you have level 10 and level 15, but then it jumps to level 42 through a different path and whatnot. So very prime example there of what is a good map design. The beautiful part about this is that you can take any town in Victoria Island and it would have this exact formula right there. So for example, if we take Elinia as another town example in Victoria Island, and we go all the way to the bottom and then to the left, and then we continue through a map, we would find a map called the Forest of Wisdom, which contains low-level mobs from level 10 to 15. People normally don't train in this area, but it still has low-level mobs for low-level people, right? Then if we continue going through these trees, we find a hidden street that would take us to Monkey Forest 1, which has lupins, which are level 37. And this is a very nice area to train with if you want to farm lupins for whatever reason, and you have people there that even the level range already shows. And if you continue through here, you can find a tree called the Dungeon Monkey Forest, right? And from there you can find zombie lupins that are level 40, and a very good map to train if you want to farm zombie lupins. And if you continue, you would find a map with maladies, which I think are level 50-ish, and there it is, another map for certain people that could train there. Some people may not want to train there, but you have the possibility if you want to do a quest, or if you want to just train as or farm a specific item that they drop. So what I'm trying to say is that Victoria Island has this formula where it is not linear, and you can just go through different towns and different maps and explore in different level ranges. And it's not like I said, from one level to another in a straight line until you get to level 80 or something. No, it's just like from different level ranges in different areas, and you can explore different areas. There is something to do and explore in different level ranges, and it's just fantastic to see that formula take place in Victoria Island. So this is what I'm saying, that this formula, it's not very common, and they stopped doing that after some point, and I think it has to do with like lazy work and not wanting to recreate this whole formula. And this is one of my biggest fear of Classic World, that is, because if they add Classic Plus and they modify or add new continents, I wonder if they will just go the straight lane route. I honestly think they don't know how powerful this Victoria Island formula is, and I wish I would be able to talk to someone at Nexon or whatever to just say, hey, you have gold right here. If you create something Classic Plus, use this. But unfortunately, obviously, I don't have that power. But it would be nice for them to know that this is good and to copy it in other island concepts. I have a video talking about Victoria Island where I give an example of like a Victoria Island 2.0 or something where you have different towns and different areas, and it's not linear, and you go to a town and you find this, but you keep going, you find another town, and so on. So it's not just to grind, but to explore around this continent. So this is something that they should definitely recreate in Classic Plus if they have the opportunity, and of course if they knew what they were missing by not copying this formula. Now let me show you what a bad continent and map design is with modern MapleStory in this case. So for example, we are in this map that is like level 200, from 200 to 207-ish, or 209. And basically here whenever you go through these maps in this like Arcane River continent, let's call it like that, you kind of have to do a small mini quest like that is kind of like the story that gets you through the whole thing in the story, and then you would be able to move kind of freely in the map basically. So right now, for example, I can move freely in the map, and here you have the town. Now here, for example, you have, if you go down this way, this is another area. So here you have level 200, level 200, 201, 201, 2, 3, 9, 3, etc. Right? So, and then here, this path, this doesn't matter, this is not a town or anything. And here you have the mobs right here, 207, 207, 207, 207, and so on. This is another area as well, 204, 205, and whatnot. So here in this case, this is bad map design when it comes to Classic, at least, because this is just for grinding. There is no exploration. There is no hidden streets that take you to a nice, interesting training spot that you wouldn't know otherwise. There is not like a circular way. It's literally a line here. And then from there, you go to the next town and the next town and the next town. That's the way it kind of works. So here it's literally a line here to train, a line here to train. Like there is not a big level range in this area. So for example, when you leave this, well, this is the full continent, quote unquote, but it's, like I said, a straight line, literally depicted here by this kind of river, because it's called Arcane River, right? So when you go down here, this is the next area that you go through here. This is the town, and you have a straight line here to level up, a straight line here, and that's it, right? So you level up here. There is nothing exciting, no hidden streets or anything like that. It's just to level up, and that's it. And it's so on. This is basically the same formula, straight line. Here, for example, you have a town, and you have this tower that is a straight line. Like I said, level range here, like we have 2021, 221, 22, 20, 21, 23, 24, etc. In the tower, 26, 26, 27, and then this is like an instance of a boss, basically, and that's it. Kind of like, let's say, Zakum or whatever, where you have to enter the instance and then you fight the boss. So here, basically, again, no exploration, just a town in the middle and different places to train. And this is kind of the formula that I am very, very fearful that they will copy. Another formula that I fear that they will copy is this dungeon formula where this, for example, Mushroom Castle, which it's basically a story that it takes you through different dialogues and all of that. I don't have like big issues with it, like super big issues. But the thing is that this is not the best thing for MapleStory, because it feels kind of like I am dragged into this story, like kind of forced into the story, rather than letting the map or the continent tell the story itself, rather than just force you to it. This is my problem with this kind of formula. It's just like you are forced into these dialogues, into these cinematics, into these things that take you through the whole map to finish the story that they want you to follow, and then that's it, which I think is terrible, honestly. Whereas, let's say, for example, that you went to a continent and there are different maps and different towns and different quests connect with each other and the people in it, that already tells the story on its own without you even worrying about following like these like quests that they tell you to follow, right? I want to talk about another thing, is that like, even for example, a place like Leafree, which is technically within Classic, I have issues with. This is not a good formula either. This is like a new part and these things, forget about this, but this is basically the main map of Leafree, kind of, right? So Leafree is basically, you have the main town and you have straight lines that lead you to the boss instance. Like there are one or two hidden streets here and there, but it's not exciting. Like, even though Leafree has like a big level range, like from level 103, let's say, to level 153, you know what I mean? Wow, you have like 50 level range, but still it's just a straight line to train. There are no towns in the middle. There is not like exploration aspect, because it's literally just a straight line to where, like, whichever spot you pick to train. And this is what I am very fearful that they will do. Rather than Victoria Island is unrecognizable in this case, but like, rather than copying the old classic Victoria Island where you have different towns, they kind of link with each other. You have, like, for example, an area that is level X, but then if you divert a little bit in a different direction, you get to an area that is like even higher level, and you have people like moving around in between different towns and exploring, actually, because right now you have this hyper teleport rock that you can just buy, and you can literally just teleport to whatever you want to be, right? So you just literally teleport to an area and you're good, right? Which is like this is like kind of like the modern experience, but like in Classic, we shouldn't have that experience, like where you teleport everywhere. You should be incentivized to explore and do all of these things. So this is my main problem, and this is like a bad example, like a bad map design or continent design, and that is because it's just about getting you to a town and just like go to whichever places to train. And I know what some people would say is like, hey, that's what MapleStory is about. It's about the grind. It's about just going to a place and grind. But not really. I mean, like, if you think about it, if you go to continents, let me see. I don't know how much this has changed. Oh, Ludibrium hasn't changed that much. So if you go to a continent like Ludibrium, for example, Ludibrium, when you get there, you have this area over here that is like level 30-ish with the teddy bears and all of that, and then you keep going lower into the factory, different areas, lower and then higher level. But on the left, you have this kind of, what would I say, like challenge of climbing or going down into this tower and all of that takes time and effort, and you have to grind and all of that to get to Omega Sector. And this is actually a formula that, even though it's not as refined as Victoria Island, is still fine, because like you have different towns, let's say Omega Sector, that, oh my god, I want to get there, but in order to get there you have to go all the way down through this tower, you see. So this is like a challenging kind of thing. And then you have this big level area where Papalatus is, right? So this is what I mean when it comes to, like, this is a good formula, right? Ludibrium, even though, like I said, it's not like the Victoria Island, like an island, circular, different towns in different corners and all of that. So these are the things that MapleStory Nexon, that is, should not rely on. They should not fall into like copying this weird formula, either of like creating these mini dungeons with a predetermined story, or just like doing the Arcane River thing and just like a straight line kind of deal. So yeah, let's see how they do it, but I am fearful that they don't know about this problem. Now the next thing is about quality of life changes. So I am all for quality of life changes 100%. However, there are certain things that I think would be too much. Like, for example, some people say that the boat from, let's say, Victoria Island to Orbis should be instantaneous and no waiting in any way whatsoever. However, I disagree with that. I think that having that feature of like social interactions where you wait for the boat and then you have to take it, I think is cool. What I would change maybe is, like, you know how in World of Warcraft, for example, when you have to go to, there is like a Zeppelin system where you have to go from one town to another. That system would be kind of like the same idea, where you have to wait for the Zeppelin and then just you take it and then you like ride it a little bit and then you kind of like teleport into the next town or whatever with Zeppelin. They could do something like that where you have to wait for the boat and then you get on the boat and you have to wait for the boat to just like go, and then like after that it can be kind of like, I don't know, 1 minute wait and then just like you get to where you need to be. So that would be fine by me. But the whole idea of like literally talking and just like getting in the boat 1 minute you're done, I don't think that would be good, honestly. I mean, it removes that social aspect, like, because let me tell you, like when you were on the boat waiting for it and just like waiting for the ride to get to Orbis, for example, I think it was a nice social moment overall. So I think that would be too much. There are other things that might be too much, like for example, if they make all the classes look like the same, like flash jumping everywhere, or making them faster like everybody, and what else, like making, for example, teleporting rocks would be, I think, too much, like making them like very accessible. I remember that they were accessible, like you had them options, but like I don't know, like I don't think that's a good thing, like being able to just teleport freely like that, even early game, which is crazy. So yeah, that's for me too much quality of life change. The last thing I want to talk about is changing the environment through quests. So meaning that if you complete a quest or a quest chain, that would get you to interact with NPCs in different ways. So they would provide you something that would change your environment. Like, let me give you an example. So you have this quest called Building a New House for Black Ball, right? This quest is level 20, but it could be higher level, honestly. Let's say that it's level 40 or something, 35. And this quest requires a couple of things that are not as hard to get. Well, it does require stone, gold, and rubble, which funny enough is just like hard to get at level 20, by the way. But hey, okay, so that's what I'm saying. Let's say the quest is level 45 or something, right? Now, the Black Balls Deed of to the Land, it's a scroll that it takes a little bit to get in the game, actually. It's the drop rate, I'm not sure how big it is, but I think it's kind of low. I think it's just the same as the glass shoe for the quest. There's a quest that you required to get a glass shoe, but anyways. So you get this deed to the land through a drop by killing cursed eyes, right? And this thing, let's say, could have a whichever drop rate that you need to put it. Let's say if you need to reduce it, that's fine. But let's say as soon as you finish this quest, right? So you talk to him, he give you XP or whatever. But now he built his house, so you can talk to him and you can say, I want to see what you're selling in your house. Now his house is kind of like a place that you get teleported, that he tells you something like, hey, do you want to go to my house, like to check what I have to offer today? And then yes, and then he teleports you to his house. And then there is someone, maybe his wife or whatever, selling items. And these items like shift throughout the day or the week, let's say with discounts. Like for example, like he sells, like this week he sells, I don't know, like elixirs that costs 50% less than what the store sells it normally. And next week they sell milk that the cost is reduced by 20% and so on. So this would be very nice because it would not only be useful because like having discounts on pots and all of that would be good through a quest, but also it would give meaning to this quest because now the quest makes sense. He's building a house and you see the result of it. Another example for this is that let's say that for example in Omega Sector, you know that there is a lot of technology and the aliens and the scientists and whatever. There is a quest, I think, where they give you some kind of rock that you can kind of teleport to Omega Sector or something, if I remember correctly. But what they could do, actually, is that through a very long chain of quests, they can give you some kind of special ticket, like a VIP ticket, and that quest could be level 60 or something, where this quest through level 60, you are able to teleport into, for example, like you can use it, you see you need to get a ride to get from Orbis to Victoria Island, right? So you can talk to these people and use that VIP ticket to kind of teleport and no longer have to do the ride, right? So this is something that a server that I used to play like did, and I think is amazing because you still have to go through the through the process of using the boat and going back and forth and all of that. But after some point, it is fine that you no longer need to do that through that ticket, for example, that would incentivize people to get that untradeable ticket. And then from there, you can just like not having to take the ride if you don't want to, or if you want to and you want to fight the Balrogs or whatever, you can. So that's what I'm saying, is like those kind of things that change the way you interact with the world. I think they fit. Those are just two examples, but there could be multiple examples where this happens. And I think it would be very cool. It would incentivize people to do quests, and it will make you feel that you're actually changing the world around you through quests, that is. So that's pretty much it with today's video. I really would like to know what you guys think in the comments. Do you guys think that this is a problem? Do you guys think it would be fine? Do you guys think actually the map design ideas that I just like told you about, or what I consider a good map design is, do you guys agree with it or not? Or like, do you guys agree with the other ideas? Just let me know in the comment section, and I will catch you guys in the next one. Bye.